Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I'm really excited because we're going to be making one of my favorite things to crochet, which is a granny square. Now these little guys can be pieced together like puzzle pieces, and you could piece them together to make much larger works, such as sweaters. You can make hats out of them, headbands, shorts, pants. You can do a wide variety of things with these little guys. Okay guys, so let's just get into it. So to begin our granny square, we're going to do a magic circle. So I've done a video on how to do a magic circle in my beginner crochet series, so I'll link that down below so that you have a much more detailed and slowed down version. But we'll just make one quickly for the sake of this tutorial. So magic circle, and we're going to chain up 3. Then we're going to put 2 double crochets into our circle. And that's going to make our first little kind of cluster. So now this looks like we have 3 double crochets, counting that first chain of 3 as our first little double crochet. We're going to chain 1, and we're going to work on our next little cluster. So we're going to add 3 double crochets into this magic circle once again. So now you can see that we have 2 clusters of 3 double crochets there, separated by that chain 1. So let's do that again. We'll chain 1 to start our new cluster, add 3 double crochets into that magic ring or magic circle, and now we will do our final little cluster by chaining 1 and adding 3 double crochets into that magic ring or circle once again. So now we have this stretched out, wonky looking creation here. So after I chain 1, I'm going to pull on my tail to close up my magic circle. And I'm going to find the top of that initial chain 3 that I did. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to slip stitch. So I kind of just went under 2 little loops there at the top of that chain 3. Yarning over, pulling through, and pulling through. So this is our first cluster of 4 here. You can see they're kind of separated with those little holes there. Okay, so from here, this was our first round. You could either continue with the same color, or you can introduce a new color, such as, you know, these squares here. So there's a couple ways where you can introduce a new color. You could keep your hook through the original color, introduce your new piece of yarn, and pull it through, and make sure you just tighten that original color to secure that in place. Then you could, you know, chain up and start working with this here. Or you could trim this original color, you know, fasten it off, make sure it's nice and secure, and then introduce your new color to one of these spaces. So you could just go into one of the spaces here, bring up your yarn, and chain up from there. Okay, so there's a couple ways to join your yarn, and then you're going to be left with a bunch of tails at the end, which I could show you that you'll have to sew in. So this is a lot of work, but it's nice to change colors and have that variety. So now, for simplicity's sake, I hope, we'll just continue with the same color. So what you'll want to do for your next round is chain up 3, and that's kind of counting as your first double crochet, and then you're going to turn your work. So now we want to work into this space here, that chain 1 space, and we're going to do a double crochet, another double crochet, and then chain 1. So we've worked another little cluster kind of in that space, and we're going to work another cluster in that same exact space. So we're going to work 3 double crochets into that same space, but they're separated by that chain 1. So after we finish our 3 double crochets, we do our chain 1. I have kitty cat hair everywhere. And now we're going to jump over to that next space and do a similar pattern as we did here. That 3 double crochet cluster, chain 1, 3 double crochet cluster, chain 1. But just jumping over this previous row's 3 double crochet cluster and just jumping right to that space. So we do our 3 double crochets in that space, chain 1, and do 3 double crochets in that exact same space. And don't forget to chain 1. See, we're starting to get this little edge of a square. So we're going to do the same thing in our next space and then our last space, and I'll show you how to finish off that round. Okay, so I just went ahead and finished those last 2 spaces. So you can see that each space has had the 3 double crochets, the chain 1, the 3 double crochets, and chain 1. So now I finished my last little space here. I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to find the first chain up of 3 that we did in the very beginning. I know it's kind of difficult and twisted to see here. 1, 2, 3, and we're just going to enter our hook into there as best we can. I do have 2 loops on my hook. I know that it's all tight and a little difficult to see, but we just pull our yarn through and pull it through, and that completed our second round. So you can grow these bad boys as large as you would like or as small as you would like based upon what kind of project you're trying to achieve, but I'll just show you how to get to the point where it starts repeating. So basically any corner spot, you can see that these are the corners of our square, those are going to have those 2 sets of clusters, and then these in-between spots are going to have 1 little set of clusters. So to start off this new round, we're going to chain up of 3, and don't forget to turn your work, and we're going to work 2 more double crochets into that space because it's not a corner. So we're just going to make sure that we have 3 double crochets in the in-between spaces. So we do have our 1, 2, 3, kitty hair removed, and we're going to chain 1 to jump over to our corner, and we're going to replicate that 3 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet in that corner. Keep it all consistent. That's why I love these things. They're so easy to work up and so easy to see where you're going next. Okay, so we did our corner space. We're going to chain 1, and now we're working into a space that's not a corner. So we just have to put 3 double crochets and a chain 1 in there. So we are just growing our square. See, we have the single cluster on the side, the corner cluster, and the single cluster on a side. So chain 1, and you're at your corner again. And you're just working into that space where that corner is located. Doing the same thing as the previous round. 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets. Oh, I'm stuck. I'm just using scrap yarn. And it's really fun to make all different color combinations based on what you have left over from previous projects. It's a real nice way to get rid of all that extra stuff. So chain 1, we're not in a corner as we could see here. It's just a regular old space. We're going to put that 3 double crochets. These just work up so quickly. I love it, I love it. And we are on to our corner space. So you see the repetition here? We have the corner space, we have the side, we have the corner space, and the finish here. So let me just go ahead to the end and we'll finish that round off. Okay, my friends, so you can see that I'm at the end here, and it is really starting to become a nice square. And I know it looks more complicated than it really is, but you're going to see the pattern of, you know, working similarities into the corners and working similarities into the sides, and it's just going to grow larger from there. So we're going to slip stitch into the top of our original chain 3 of that last round. So to keep growing and keep going, we're going to chain up 3, and don't forget to turn your work. And we're at a space here, and it's not a corner, it is a side. So we're going to work our 2 more double crochets so that we have 3 in this cluster here. Chain 1, and then we'll get to the corner, and we're just doing that same corner repetition here, but I just want to get to the side so that I could show you how it was different from the last round because we are growing. So after this, you're just going to repeat as you grow. There's just going to be more spaces on the sides, but the corners will always remain consistent. So the corners are always doing that 2 sets of 3 double crochet cluster there. But the sides, you see, now we have 2 more spaces until we get to the space of the corner, okay? So considering that these are not corner spaces, we are treating them exactly the same as that previous round where we're just putting 3 double crochets into the side space. So 3 double crochets will go here, separated by a chain, and then 3 double crochets will go here, and then we get to our corner and just repeat. Okay, so as you grow, you're going to get more of these spaces, which let me see if I could see on this one. You see how many, this is our corner here, and we ended up with 1, 2, 3 spaces until we got to the next corner. So that's how it will continue to grow, and you can make these as large or as small as you'd like again, okay? Okay guys, so like I said, if you're changing colors, even if you just work with one color, you're going to have some tails to sew in at the end. This just makes your piece a lot neater and a lot more secure when you go to trim these little extra threads at the end. So definitely make sure you sew in your ends when you're finished with your granny squares, or you could wait to sew them all in after you've assembled your final piece. So whatever, pick your poison, basically. It's all evil. But I had a project that I was working on where I was following a pattern, and I was making my square, and my square ended up being larger than their recommended measurement. So the way that they had said was, if you're making a size small, your square is going to measure, you know, 5 by 5 or something. So you want to measure it like that to make sure that your gauge is matching the pattern so that you don't end up with a huge piece when you didn't plan for that. So you want to make sure that you are matching the size of your granny square to what the pattern says, or you're eyeballing it. But say you needed to make it larger or smaller, you would just reduce the amount of rows that you're doing or increase them to match that measurement, because measurement is important when we are making clothing for ourselves. We don't want to spend all this time and then it's an end product of what we didn't expect. Okay, so thank you for learning how to make granny squares with me. I hope you had so much fun. I know I did. So guys, once again, thank you so much for joining me during these tutorials. I really have so much fun teaching, and I hope that you're picking this up as quickly or as enjoyably as you'd like. If these videos are helping you in any way, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe, and don't forget to share with someone that you feel might benefit from these videos as well. So I'll see you next time. Thank you so much.